You're watching Traders Morning Setups with Dex the Algo Capitalist. Dex created his pulse wave price trigger reports over 2 decades ago, and he's been using them to ride the pulse waves as a full-time trader ever since. Find out more about Dex's reports and sign up for our next webinar to learn how to use them at pulsewavetrading.com.
Good morning. Welcome back to another edition of the Pulse Wave Report with yours truly, Dex the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from pulsewavetrading.com, home of the world famous Pulse Wave Price Trigger Reports. Let's get into it. These overnight markets have been kind of quiet. You got the US dollar index down 28 pips at 102.27. Euro is up. We'll make that 50 pips at 110.09. We have the pound sterling up 94 pips at 127.41. And we have the Aussie up 44 pips at 67.64. Bitcoin futures up 805, trading at 42,910. And we have the Ethereum futures up 28.5 at 22.2150. Crude oil futures up 44 cents per barrel, trading at $73.27 per barrel. Nat gas is off 8 cents, trading at $2.42. Gold futures up $4.80 per ounce, now at $2,045.30 per ounce. And silver is up 13 cents at $24.25 per ounce. Very tight trading ranges, I should say, in the metals at this point. All right, moving down the list here, we got copper is up 6 cents at $3.91. Dow futures are up 18 points at 37,696. We have the E-mini S&P 500 futures up 5.25 points at 47.98.5. E-mini NASDAQ 100 futures are up 15 at 16,953. And we have the Russell My Hustle up 16.2 at 2021.80. And we have soybeans off 7 cents this morning at $13.19 per bushel. Corn down a penny at $4.75 a bushel. And wheat is off 4 cents at $6.12 per bushel. And believe it or not, folks, we have no morning 2-bar Charlie setups to speak about. Isn't that rare? But on the other hand, it turns out letters addressed to Santa Claus are so popular, the U.S. Postal Service has an entire operation dedicated to handling them. Now, I'm going to let you in a little secret. I believe that this so-called operation that they have, remember those basketball hoops that you put on your door, your bedroom door? You know, when you're a kid, I had one. I know you had one too. And you could just shoot stuff through it. Well, I think that's what it is. I think it's a big hoop, and it says Santa Claus, Merry Christmas on the backboard, and they just ball up those letters and just 3-point them right into all net, nothing but net. In today's big story, we're looking at a new study showing a big downside to remote work. In markets, 13 people who nailed their market calls this year shows their 2024 predictions. In tech news, the first SEO heist shows how AI has appended the internet forever. And in business, the Wall Streeter turned escort pulls in $34,000 a week during the holidays. But first, what days are you in this week? Well, in office innovation, if you're a big proponent of remote work, you won't like what you're about to hear. In the long-running debate over the efficacy of remote work, proponents of the office open point to an ambiguous, undefinable feature they say is lost with the WFH. Their way of identifying what's at risk if workers don't return to their desk comes in all forms, from togetherness to culture. But pinpointing what's lost when water cooler talk becomes Slack chats has been tough. However, a recent study seems to have figured out exactly what employees sacrifice when remote. But see, here's the thing though. Why does a company care about culture and togetherness? What companies care about is profits, and they don't care what you're doing as long as you're making them money and not making them look bad in the process as far as in the public eye. But for the most part, they just care about the money. I don't care if you're working from home or if you're working on Mars. Are you profitable? Or should we fire you and hire someone else? That's basically what a company is supposed to be about. Since when did companies start becoming political? You know, it's like all of a sudden corporations are treated as individuals and they have rights, they have belief systems, worldviews, they have religion, they have politics. This is getting absurd. But an examination of 20 million scientific studies and 4 million patent applications over the past 50 years found those who collaborated in person produced more breakthrough work than those who were remote. Now, the study found that teams in the same city were 22% more likely to create innovative patents and 27% more likely to uncover pioneering insights in scientific papers than teams separated by hundreds of miles or more. Of course, they're going to come up with these bogus studies to prove their point that they want you back in the office because you're costing them all this money that they have to pay for these buildings and for these leases in these elaborate, Manhattan type offices. The study found that teams in the same city were 22% more likely to create innovative patents. Well, that's nice. But in short, you have a better chance of being innovative when everyone's in the office. That's what they say. But let's be honest, that's not true. But I digress. But as AKI's story details, it's not just about being in the office. So the study also showed that successful in-person teams had the same people working on a project, starting with the inception of an idea. On the other hand, senior people on remote teams developed a concept before delegating it to their less established peers. That seems less likely. And it's not really a ringing endorsement of in-office mandates and more of a fascinating insight into the best ways firms can brainstorm. Of course, seeing what executives look to take away from this new study will be interesting. The only way for us to be an innovative company that can come up with the next big thing is by you being in the office. And that mentality, as demonstrated by the study, isn't necessarily wrong. Even if you're a diehard supporter of remote work, it's hard not to acknowledge that something is lost when being remote. As convenient as tools like Slack and Zoom are for collaborating, they still represent an additional hurdle that doesn't exist when you can just turn to the person sitting next to you. But getting everyone back to the office might only be half the battle. Once their senior employees pawning their ideas off on young workers isn't going to facilitate the type of innovation execs are banking on. The bottom line is this: work has changed forever. And now enter AI, and there's no going back. All right. Because now you can work remotely. And let's be honest, the ones that are really promoting the back in office thing is because they feel they don't have as much control over you as when you're in the physical office. When you're in a physical office, you got your managers hovering over you, and it's just a lot to it. What they're not talking about is all the pros of working remotely. There are more pros than cons, actually. There's 1,000 reasons of why remote work is better than being in the office. For one thing, you don't have the risk of the spread of COVID. All right, so that's one thing, and other airborne diseases. Also, you don't have to fight with traffic. It's more expensive to go to the office than to work from home because you don't have the wear and tear on your vehicle. You don't have to worry about these skyrocketing, gas prices, and you don't have to worry about all the other things that go with that. People spent more hours in their car than they do sleeping, and that's really just ridiculous. But that's how the old way of doing things was. So you had traffic jams, you had accidents, and the more accidents, the more time off of work a person has to take. Some people have to take time off of work permanently, if you get my drift, because of an accident. So this cuts down on all of that stuff. And for all you eco people out there, this is cutting down on emissions because you don't have this many vehicles clogging up the highways and byways and putting exhaust in the air, right? You're saving on all types of energy costs this way by working remotely. So the pluses go on and on and on. The hedge funds, these hedge funds are balancing ambition with the risk of growing too fast. Multi-manager funds, which are made up of dozens of teams trading various things, are all the rage these days. As the biggest funds close themselves off to new investors, mid-sized firms have an opportunity to grow their assets, but it doesn't come without risk. Meet the oracles of Wall Street. These 13 economists, strategists, and analysts were head and shoulders above their peers when making calls on the market during a wild year. In addition to highlighting their impressive year, we also got them to share their highest conviction predictions for 2024. Everyone has these 2024 predictions. Some predictions on the Fed rate cuts in 2024. Goldman Sachs said the world economy is now in a period of great disinflation, adding that the Fed will cut interest rates 5 times next year. Pantheon Macroeconomics, meanwhile, sees the Fed being more aggressive with its cuts than people expected due to a weaker than forecasted economy. Inside the first SEO heist of the AI era, a provocative online company used AI to clone thousands of articles for a competitor, raising their traffic. This success raises big questions about the future of the internet. It's nearly impossible to spot the difference between human and AI generated content. Yeah, and college kids are using AI now to write term papers. Next, you'll have people using it to write their doctoral thesis. There's the limits, are endless what AI can do, and like they said, you can't tell the difference. So this is going to be a very interesting thing because now when you read stuff on the internet, 9 times out of 10, this could be written by an algorithm and not a person. Scary thoughts, I know. Big tech avoided responsibility for online content for decades. AI is about to end that. They've long been immune from legal liability for users' content, but with the rise of generative AI, big tech could finally be seen as creators of content. Salesforce markets itself as a trustworthy AI company. Customers aren't buying it yet. Executives acknowledge and talk about a trust gap with AI. But experts say many customers are still in more of an exploration phase, not an implementation stage. Data centers are becoming an economic powerhouse. Just look at Virginia. Major players in the business are getting wooed by counties for their job generating projects. And the region's largest utility proposed a plan tailored to their needs. But Virginia residents and businesses could be left with the plan's enormous cost. They always like using taxpayer funds to pay for their stuff, but then the taxpayers don't get any dividends from that, which is really messed up. An escort and stripper who caters to Wall Street clients says she pulls in $34,000 a week during the holiday rush. Mia Lee revealed what her business and most lucrative weeks are like. She's a former forensic accountant and is a self-identified psychopath. I guess it pays to be a psychopath, huh? Healthcare companies are promising to help people quit Wegovy or Wegovy, and it makes no sense. Growing evidence suggests it must be taken for the long term to sustain weight loss. But quitting the drugs is something of an informal medical experiment, and it could even be harmful. And in other news, Jonathan Majors of Marvel fame is found guilty of assault and harassment at domestic abuse trial. Adobe has called off its plans to acquire rival Figma for $20 billion. Clarence Thomas was deep in debt when he hinted to a GOP lawmaker that he'd quit if he didn't get a pay raise. I'm a tech reporter who's downloaded dozens of social media apps this year. These are the best ones and why they're worth your time. Jeff Bezos wants a solar system with 1 trillion people, 1,000 Einsteins and Mozarts, and 37,000 active serial killers. Gen Z recruits in the U.S. Army are taking to TikTok to complain about the food, the pay, and body shaming. Well, that's the Army's fault. I'm just going to be honest. Come on. First of all, I guess things have gone way downhill since, the 1980s and 1990s, because the food was all of that back then. And the pay has always been abysmal, especially if you come in at the lowest class. As far as body shaming, that's hilarious. You need to be in tip-top physical shape if you're going to be in the military. You have to be. You got to be ready for action. You got to be ready for whatever, whenever. And you can't do that if you're sick. And it doesn't matter if you are skinny as olive oil or you're morbidly obese as Bluto. If you are sick, you can't fight. You can't defend. You can't do anything. And they've always had, physical fitness milestones and things that you had to pass. I don't. It's been so long. I think it's annually. You guys in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but you got to take a physical fitness test for your age group and everything. And if you fail that, then you gotta meet those requirements. And I know when you first get to basic training, they separate those that are out of shape, and morbidly obese to those who aren't. And they have what is called fat farms for those who are morbidly obese. And what will happen is you go there and you lose weight and get in shape, and they put you on this extremely strict diet. And then if you can do the minimum, I think it was like 13 push-ups or something like that, and some other stuff, then you could go to basic training and start from there. But you didn't even go to basic until they got you healthy. If you couldn't get healthy, then you just go home. But if you get healthy, then you go to basic training and blah blah blah. But since those days, there's been a night and day shift in everything concerning the military, and it's all been for the worse. So it's all bad now in so many ways. I could do a podcast on that in the future, but it's not looking good for the U.S. on many fronts. Did OpenAI silently release a new AI model, or is it a hallucination? A 106-year-old who gardens every day gives her advice for living a long, healthy life. Bluestone Equity Partners has taken a $45 million stake in an AI-driven video editing firm that helps connect fans with live sports. China is stepping up its iPhone crackdown. Short seller Jim Chano says Americans are so bad at gambling that he's now bullish on the industry. First of all, what do you mean bad at gambling? I mean, there's only a handful of games of chance that you can manage your risk, such as blackjack through card counting, poker. There are people who actually make a living being a professional poker player, so you can do that. Chess, checkers, Uno, stuff like that. So there's some games of chance where you can you can control, not really control, but manage your risk and actually make a career out of it. All other forms of gambling are just what they are, gambling. And it's designed for the house to always win. The longer you sit there and play, the longer the odds are going to go against you, and all the money is going to go back to the house, regardless of how much you win. It's just the way it's designed. It's supposed to be adult fun. You have a little pot of cash that you're going to go and you know you're going to spend it. It's for fun. You're not looking to make money. It's like going on a vacation. When you go on vacation, you're expecting to make money? No, you're expecting to spend money, a lot of money. So that's what it is. And that's what it's always been. You go for the atmosphere. You know, there's singing, there's dancing, there's all these live shows when you go to Las Vegas and all these different things to do and get involved in, but it all around revolves around gambling. All right. And it's supposed to be fun adult entertainment. If you're looking to, if you're trying to go to Atlantic City or Las Vegas, hoping to win big and hit the lottery or whatever, well, you are definitely living in a bubble because that's never going to happen. And even if you do get lucky and you play the little slot machines, and you win $1 million, you better stop right there, cash your money in, and leave and go home. Because if you don't, you're going to blow through all that money the longer you sit there. It's just designed that way. Anyway, the season finale for The Voice is tonight. Neil Horan, John Legend, Reba McEntire, and Gwen Stefani are the coaches for the NBC show 24th season. Happy birthday. I know I'm going to tear this name up. Jake Gyllenhaal, Kareem Benzema, Alyssa Milano, and Jennifer Beals were also born on this day. And on earnings today, we have FedEx and Accenture, among other companies. All right. Thank you for being patient with me this morning and spending your time with me. I'm still tripping on the escort stripper who caters to Wall Street clients making $34,000 a week. She was a forensic accountant. That's a decent career. Why would you leave I could see if you were like, she was working some dead-end job somewhere as a waitress, in a little grease pit like the show Alice, but that wasn't the case. She was a forensic accountant. You know what I'm saying? And you go from that to being a professional escort and stripper. I mean, that's weird to me. I don't understand. And then say that you are a self-confessed psychopath, not sociopath, but psychopath. What is going on with the United States of America? It is crashing and burning. Not all money is good money. It really isn't. And this is really crazy. But anyway, just when I thought I couldn't be surprised by something, then you hear more nonsense. And what message is this sending to young women? This is crazy. Anyway, this is my show. Y'all know what it is. Postwavetrading.com. You can easily go to postwavetrading.com. You can find out all the good stuff you need to find out. Take advantage of all the deals and promotions we got going on. And remember, the system works if you work the system. Bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And on that note, I'm out. Smash that like button. Peace.